Hello, my wonderful fanboys and fangirls. You have McGann here, and I'm taking a shot at something new, so let me explain it for a minute. There is so much negativity between fans of different theorists, and there are viewers who leave nasty remarks in the comments saying that idea A was stolen from theorist number 3, which gets to be extremely frustrating when timestamps prove that you posted it first. True enough, sometimes people do use an idea and they don't give credit for it. It happens and it sucks, but sometimes different people just end up at the same conclusion because we're all looking at the same movie. I believe that we theorists can be a cooperative group that supports each other, so I'm doing a new series called Coraline Conversations, where I want to talk with other channels about their Coraline theories and ideas. So, more Coraline for you, and if you like what you hear, please go and subscribe to my collaborating partner. For Coraline Conversations, let me state up front that these discussions and interviews don't mean that I'm changing my own theories, but theories are supposed to be a fun way to enhance a movie, so even if an idea doesn't go in the direction that I'm going, it can still be a great thought. You can disagree and have a debate and explore other ideas in a friendly, positive way. And you viewers can believe in every theory out there because there's no wrong answers. None of it is confirmed canon. So, on my quest for different theories for this project, I found today's great guest.
Hi, my name's Phil from All Monsters Go to Space, a channel where me and my wife Danny explore some of the origins of creatures from TV, films and games.
And we're about to talk more about what he thinks the other mother could be, because there's a lot of stuff in mythology that might not be common knowledge for everyone. So Phil, if you don't mind, could you kind of catch everyone up and tell them the gist of your theory?
So just to fill you guys in, I came to the conclusion that the Beldam might actually be based on a fairy known as a changeling from medieval literature. Now this is a creature that will take children from homes and transport them to a fairy dimension and leave behind a malformed or fairy child in its place. And for me this kind of really resonated because one of the things that the Beldam does is obviously leave a doll form of her victims behind, and of course she does take the children off to a pocket dimension, as it were.
See, I got to fairy or maybe half fairy myself, and then I went down the fallen goddess rabbit hole, but I had no idea that a doll was actually part of the changeling mythology. All I've ever heard about changelings is that they're like an uglier baby that the parents believed a fairy switched out with their prettier baby. But this is exactly why I love to talk to other people about Coraline, because you know an entirely different changeling than I do. And I absolutely adore that you're able to work the doll into this theory in a way that really makes sense, because before it's always been so bizarre to me that this highly magical item is left behind in the real world. You know, why would Mrs. Lovat be able to hang on to that doll for almost 50 years? And I always saw the doll as this object that was meant to appeal to Coraline to kind of lure her into the other world more, but from what you're saying, this might actually be the pattern of a magical creature to leave a doll behind. And that is an incredible detail to catch, like, bravo. I mean, that's so goofy, I know, but I don't know a better way to say it. So, to dig deeper into this, does the spider form of the Beldam fit in with the changeling theory? Because, I mean, the book version of Coraline does specifically say that she's afraid of spiders, so do you think the spider form is authentic? Or would you see it more like a shape-shifting trick, like when the Beldam poses as Coraline's mother?
So there is some evidence in British mythology to suggest that the Beldam spider form might be somewhere close to what she actually looks like, as fairies are quite linked to spiders in British mythology. So a British name for the spider webs covered with dew in the morning are actually called fairy tents, and these are believed to be made by fairies overnight as a form of shelter. So these kind of fairies that create these, I guess, could have some kind of spiderish characteristics which could tie in here.
See, I never even knew that I never even knew that fairies and spiders had any kind of connection. So much of that type of folklore gets a Disney wand waved over it in America, so what we know here is nothing like the originals. But speaking of having altered versions of folklore, after about a year of trying to make book version of Coraline fill in answers for the movie version of Coraline, I'm really at a point where I believe that they are just two different alternate universes. There are just so many issues between the two different versions of them that I can't find a way to reconcile them. So I am very interested to know what you think about the traits in the book version of the Beldam. There are just so many oddities that I've never been able to place in one single monster. In the book, the other mother has no reflection, floating hair, and shape-shifting abilities, but no spider form. She also uses the key that Coraline uses to get into the other world. She uses it in this really old mirror to unlock magical properties within it. She claims that she buried her own mother alive, which I guess isn't necessarily supernatural, but it is really odd. The Beldam also says that she could talk to ghosts, but you shouldn't listen to ghosts anyways because they're all such liars. She uses actual rats for her minions in the book. One of the ghost children is supposed to be a fairy that has been trapped there for time beyond reckoning, and there is no doll in the book whatsoever. So would all of that still strike you as a changeling, or is there another creature that might fit that sort of list of traits better?
So my theory is actually more based upon the actions and characteristics of the Beldam rather than her physical appearance, as there is actually a lack of historical evidence that describes the physical attributes of a changeling. Unfortunately, my theory of her being a changeling is partially pinned around the fact that she leaves this doll in the child's image behind, which of course was actually absent from the book, but I think there's enough evidence there to suggest that she is definitely some kind of fairy. As Neil Gaiman goes to particular efforts to mention what might seem like trivial details of the ring of mushrooms, which yet again in British folklore is known as a fairy circle, and also said to be a doorway between this world and the fairy world. So as for the Beldam not actually casting a reflection, this actually goes back to a very old idea, because mirrors way back when were actually backed with silver. Now silver in mythology and folklore is actually a purifying element. So anything that has bad intentions or is demonic in some way will not actually cast their reflection. The same principle with vampires. Also, a lot of people have also highlighted the fact that the Beldam does mention that she had a mother that she buried alive. For me, this isn't evidence to say that she was human, as fairies do have a very matriarchal system. So the thing that she refers to as being her mother could just be a matriarchal fairy. And this also ties into the ghost child that's also a fairy, suggesting that this was her first victim.
Okay, since you have such an expertise on so many types of monsters, what do you think about the black cat? There's the classic superstition of black cats being bad luck, but the cat in Coraline always seems like he's a lot more than we're ever told. He knows things about the Beldam, he tells Coraline to challenge her to a game, and he seems to know that children are in danger around her, but I mean, the last victim was 40 plus years ago, which is much longer than a cat's lifespan. Something has always struck me as off about him, which led me to believe that he's one of the Beldam's minions. But it always bothered me that Coraline describes the voice of the cat in the book as being just like the voice in her head, except male instead of female. Are there any creatures that would have a reason to be posing as a black cat? Is he just a strange cat? Or is there maybe another answer that might explain the issues that we see with what the cat knows?
So obviously it's a classic trope that black cats are normally the minions of demonic entities and actual witches themselves. However, if the Beldam is a fairy, it does explain why they dislike each other so much, because fairies in folklore have a fond disdain for cats. Also, cats are said in folklore to have this extraordinary ability to actually transfer between dimensions and literally go wherever they want. And it's said that this ability to transfer between worlds at will does give them knowledge beyond what they should actually have, which explains why, if this cat is just a normal cat, he might actually know about the previous ghost children, or at least had a conversation with them at some point.
Okay, the last question that I really want to ask you about is the corridor in the book. In the movie, Coraline goes to the other world in this kid-sized tunnel, but in the book it's just like a full-blown hallway that connects these two apartment units. And Coraline says that she feels like it gets longer each time that she goes through it and that there's something in there. Coraline mentions that she feels something watching her and that it's much older than the Beldam. And during Coraline's dramatic escape at the end of the book, she's going through the corridor and she puts her hand on the wall and it feels furry, and eventually she feels like she put her hand in a tongue, or I guess on a tongue in a mouth. For the life of me, I cannot fit that vague description with anything out there. Would you have any ideas at all what the corridor monster might be?
Ah yes, the creature in the corridor. Now I think it's a real shame this was actually missed out from the film, but obviously if they left it in there, I think it might overcomplicate the plot. So I think this creature is actually something called an in-betweener. Now these are actually creatures that are said to live in between dimensions, and is the reason why people say that you should not lurk in doorways. And the corridor in the book and the film certainly seems like the perfect place for one of these creatures to reside, as it is a passageway between this world and the Beldam's pocket dimension. It should also be mentioned that these creatures are most active at night, especially around midnight, which explains why Coraline is having ever more growing interactions with this creature whilst passing through the corridor.
Well, this has all been so awesome, and I want to thank you so much for being here, Phil, and everybody go check out All Creatures Go to Space. Again, the link is in the description below, and I'm going to shut up and let Phil have the last few words before I do my outro.
So big thank you to McGann from the Fangirl for inviting me onto this channel and exploring some of the aspects of Coraline further. Don't forget to check out some of her fantastic previous Coraline videos. And if you're interested in learning more about monsters and mythology in general, come over to us at All Monsters Go to Space, and I'll see you all soon.
Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.